I'm going to do it. I'm going to feature a scary book. I know it seems so unlike me, and it's so rare that I read a scary book. And for most of you, you'll go, that's not even scary. But for me, it was. So, for those people that want to try a scary book or that love a scary book, I do think you should maybe have a look at Nightbooks by J.A. White. So I'm going to do the first chapter Friday for Nightbooks. Chapter 1, The Wrong Floor. After his family had finally fallen asleep, Alex slung the backpack over his shoulder and snuck out of the apartment, easing the front door gently home so it didn't slam shut. The 8th floor hallway looked drearier than ever without any sunlight coming through its small windows. Alex lingered on the doormat, fighting the urge to return to his warm and comfortable bed. If you do that, he thought, you'll still be the same old Alec Mosher tomorrow. Weirdo, freak, loser. Is that what you want? No, he whispered. Before he could change his mind, Alex started towards the elevator at the end of the hall. During the day, snippets of neighbors' lives leak through the thin doors, muffled conversations, the loud blare of televisions, Miss Garcia's son practicing his violin. At this time of night, however, the hallway was nearly silent. The only sounds were a grimy light bulb that buzzed like an angry hornet and a soft rustling from Alex's backpack as though its contents were struggling to escape their fate. Sorry, Alex thought, feeling a wave of guilt. I wish I didn't have to do this, but it's better this way. He reached the elevator and pressed the down button on the cracked panel. Far below him, ancient gears squealed away the silence. Alex winced and peeked over his shoulder, hoping that the sound didn't wake any of his neighbors. The stairs would have been a quieter option, but Alex wanted to reach his destination as quickly as possible, so he didn't have an opportunity to second-guess his decision. Ding! The elevator doors jerked open with a pained squeal. Smudged mirrors paneled the walls. Alex stepped inside and clicked the B button. The basement was his favorite place in the entire apartment building. It was spooky and weird and packed ceiling high with towers of knickknacks left behind from former tenants, like a graveyard of unwanted items. The most amazing part, however, was the boiler, an iron monster built nearly 60 years ago. Alex called it Old Smoky. It was his destination tonight. The elevator doors closed and the car began to descend in slow, jerky increments. Alex tapped his foot impatiently. Though his backpack was far lighter than usual, it seemed to weigh him down like an anchor. I'll feel better after they're gone, he thought. Just toss them in the flames and walk away. Don't even stick around to watch them burn. Of course, Alex could have just dumped the contents of his backpack down the trash chute and had been done with it, but that seemed cruel. Cremating them in Old Smoky felt more honorable, like setting the body of a fallen warrior aflame. Alex figured he owed them a good death, at least. After all, he was the one who had created them. The elevator stopped. The door creaked open. Alex tilted his head in confusion. Instead of the basement, an unfamiliar hallway stretched out before him. He checked the digital display at the top of the elevator. 4? Must be broken, he thought, jabbing the B button with his index finger. The elevator didn't move. Alex sighed with frustration. Looks like I'm taking the stairs after all, he thought. He stepped off the elevator and headed toward the stairwell. The 4th floor had the same basic layout as the 8th, but it was noticeably darker. Alex glanced up at the light bulbs, wondering if a few of them had burned out, but they seemed to be working fine. For some strange reason, however, their glow didn't radiate as far as it should, as though the darkness of this particular hallway was harder to penetrate than the ordinary kind. Just my crazy imagination, Alex thought, ignoring the cold sensations creeping down his spine. The bulbs are probably just old, or... He heard voices. They were coming from the apartment at the end of the hall. At first, Alex thought it was just the people who lived there. As he got closer, however, creepy music rose in the background, and Alex realized that the voices belonged to the characters of a movie. He broke into a big grin as he recognized the dialogue. That's Night of the Living Dead, he thought. Alex had been 4 years old the first time he saw the movie. He was supposed to have been fast asleep, but the strange sounds coming from the living room had piqued his curiosity, and so he crept out of bed to investigate. His mom and dad were cuddled up on the couch sharing a bowl of popcorn. Alex hid behind his dad's easy chair and trained his eyes on the television. He had never been so terrified or exhilarated in his life. By the time that his parents realized they had an unwelcome visitor, it was too late. Alex was in love. At the end of the month, his Thomas trains had been exiled to a bin in the basement, replaced by toy monsters, plastic fangs, and a stuffed ghost named Boo. He dismantled his Lego fire trucks and rocket ships and used the bricks to build a haunted house. At the library, Alex insisted on borrowing only the picture books with little Halloween labels on their spines, despite the fact that it was June. Night of the Living Dead had been his introduction to the world of creepy things. Hearing it now, an overpowering desire to watch the movie again fogged all other thoughts. Alex approached the door of apartment 4E, the static-filled soundtrack reeling him in like a fishing line, and pressed his ear against it. It was one of the earliest scenes in the movie, just before Barbara and her brother are attacked by a zombie at the graveyard. I've barely missed anything at all, Alex thought with excitement. He had for a moment completely forgotten about his backpack and his reason for coming out tonight. All he could think about was the movie. He was desperate to see it. If Alex had been thinking clearly, he might have realized that this didn't make any sense. After all, he could watch Night of the Living Dead at any time he wanted to on his iPad. Surely that was a better choice than knocking on a stranger's door in the middle of the night. Unfortunately, Alex was not thinking clearly. His green eyes, usually so sharp and inquisitive behind their glasses, had gone uncharacteristically flat, and his mouth hung open in a baffled expression, giving him a striking resemblance to one of the zombies from the movie. Alex knocked on the door with 3 quick taps. A woman answered almost immediately, as though she had been expecting his arrival. "Well, look at this," she said, peering down at him. "A visitor." The woman was in her late 20s with dark skin and short, spiky hair. She wore all black and a lot of makeup, especially around the eyes. "I'm sorry," said Alex, his mind swirly. "What am I doing here? I don't know why I knocked. I just heard—" "What did you hear?" she asked, leaning forward with an eager expression. "Tell me." "The movie." The woman smiled. There were tiny gaps between her narrow teeth, giving her the look of one of those weird, glowing fish that prowl the deepest parts of the ocean. "A movie?" she asked with genuine curiosity. "That's new. Which one?" Alex gave the woman a strange look. He could still hear the television blaring behind her, the zombie now banging on the window of Barbara's car, yet she was acting like she heard nothing at all. "Don't you know?" Alex asked. "Why should I? The movie's for you, not me." She opened the door wider. "You want to watch it?" she asked. "I bet it's one of your favorites." A beam of fear cut through the fog of Alex's thoughts. It's the middle of the night, and I'm having a conversation with a total stranger like it's the most normal thing in the world. He thought, what's wrong with me? He took a step back, intending to leave as quickly as possible, when he smelled something wonderful coming from the apartment. Freshly baked pumpkin pie, his favorite. He breathed in the comforting smells of nutmeg and cinnamon, and all his fear instantly evaporated. This woman isn't a threat, he thought. She's just a nice lady who likes horror movies like me. The movie's Night of the Living Dead, Alex said. 1968, directed by George Romero. Ah, said the woman, how intriguing. And I was right. Is it one of your favorites? Top 10, right between Let the Right One In and The Ring. Alex shrugged apologetically. I like scary stuff. You sound like my kind of kid, the woman replied, grinning. It's crazy. I was just about to kick back and watch the movie when I thought, the only thing missing is someone to share this with, someone who really appreciates it. And here you are. She opened the door all the way, allowing Alex a view of the comfortable-looking couch and a coffee table piled with oatmeal raisin cookies and pumpkin pie. Across from this cozy setup, a huge TV played the black-and-white images he longed to see. Barbara staggering towards the farmhouse where she would be trapped for the rest of the movie with the zombies in hot pursuit. Alex took a step forward, entranced. Well, don't just stand there gawking, silly boy, the woman said. Come inside. Even later, Alex knew that he had been under the influence of a powerful spell. He found it hard to believe that he had entered the apartment so easily. At the time, it was like his body was not his own, but a moth drawn to the flickering lights of the television. And I'm going to stop there. So Alex has just opened the door into his own nightmare. The title of the book is Nightbooks by J.A. White. I hope you'll give it a try.